We are into World Deadlift Championship week and we are here to give you our predictions, every single lifter, what we think they'll pull and who is going to win the Deadlift World Championships. Right, Auntie Liz, this is part of the World Open and we have one guest lifter. So we're going to focus solely on the deadlift today. The Deadlift World Championships 2022. Last year was epic. We had so many guys pull 1,000 pounds. I'm hoping to see the same this time round. The numbers have been selected. So I spoke to Darren Sadler last week. The jumps that the athletes will be going through, these are important because they dictate what we think people will do. Unfortunately, due to time restraints, they can't pick what they want to do. Which is a shame because, you know, the numbers that I give for people, maybe I think they're capable of a little bit more, but obviously the jumps are going to dictate what they can do. So we're opening with 400 kilos, then we're going to 425 kilos, then to 1,000 pounds, which is 453, I think, something like that. Then we go to 475 kilos, which was the winning lift last year. And then they are jumping to 505. That's the magic number they want to get. Bear in mind the world record is 501, so 502 would break it. But 505, we don't want to break it by 1 kilo. We want big numbers.
3 kilos.
4 kilos. Yeah, we can't even count. But yeah, I think based on those lifts,
what would you, like, if it has to be this way, what numbers would you pick for the competitors? Say they can only do 5 or 6 lifts because of time constraints. Because I just feel like I would like to see something different from last year. What would you do?
I would love to see a 430/435 for someone like Gav Bilton to go for like a Welsh record. I'd love to see, I don't know, maybe like a 460 and a 480, something like that.
Me
because
too.
I think we could separate more people with those type of numbers.
I think so too. So 400, 435, 460, 480, 505.
Yeah, even like if you allow athletes to maybe skip lifts, which they are doing anyway. But maybe 400, 420, 440, 460, 480, 500. Or 505, whatever it is. It's very difficult because you've been at deadlift only competitions.
They can take
a while. So we want to give the athletes the best opportunity in terms of jumps to realistically hit that target. The only issue with so few jumps is you do get a lot of athletes tying on points, which is also a shame when it comes to the overall. But that's why we're going to focus just on the deadlift today. So as it stands, we have 13 athletes expected to turn up. There is a couple of issues. We may unfortunately lose 1 or 2 of these. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we don't. The real question mark is Peiman Maheripour because of visa issues. Everything has been done to try and get him over here. He is just literally now waiting for
it to arrive in his house in the post or whatever that looks like.
I feel for him. It must be awful, but he's put up some incredible numbers in training, in a few competitions as well. He's one of the guys you'd expect to be coming up near the top of this competition. He's also a guy that is hard to predict because we haven't seen him over in the UK or in America against the best guys. So when people are doing most of their biggest lifts in the gym, it's always difficult. But he did compete in Russia where he pulled the biggest weight last year. I believe it was 480 odd kilos.
Do you think that lockout would have been accepted at the Deadlift World Championships?
Personally, I don't think it should have. No. And I think it's really important that the referees are strict for the Deadlift World Championships. We need solidly locked out knees, shoulders pulled back, fully locked out reps because we want to see the best lifts and we don't want the internet to be questioning the lifts after. I don't want to question the lifts. And I've seen this before. And, you know, I put my hands up. I've been given lifts before that as a referee I wouldn't give myself. You can't blame the athletes. It's why it's so important that the referees really make sure the athletes work and lock it out. Because the athlete will keep trying to pull until the referee says down. So if the referee doesn't give that early signal, the athlete's obviously going to just keep pulling and pulling until they either can't pull anymore.
Or they don't,
they don't. So it is important that we have that strict refereeing. Hopefully that will be the case. Peiman, I believe, is a 475 puller.
Agree.
I think 505 will be too much. I think the way he pulls, he hitches, he's very powerful off the floor, which is going to be the case for a lot of these guys. And, you know, I've never pulled 505 or even 500 kilos, but I've pulled some big numbers. And it does get hard when you're kind of getting to that lockout or getting over the knees and you're trying to hitch that kind of weight. It is awkward. It's possible, but it makes it very, very difficult. And I think we'll see him. I think he'll pull. I think he's the kind of guy who'll just turn up and pull every weight.
I was just about to say, I don't know Peiman like I know the others, but I think if he got here, he'd go through every single weight.
I think so too. I really do. I don't know why I think that.
I just think he's the sort he won't leave anything to chance.
I've competed against him a few times, and he's not really a tactical lifter.
No.
He is
He's
like
just a
heart on
lifter.
his sleeve, determined. Will push it as hard as he can, and I think he'll do every single lift. But I just hope he gets the chance to come over and try. If he gets here, my prediction, and I'm going to be sort of with this with most guys, I think between £1,000 and 475.
No, be more committal than that. You can't give 2 out of 5 possible options. Come on, man.
I was trying to cover my back.
Yeah, I know what you're trying to do.
I think Peiman pulls 475.
475. There we go. Well done.
What about you?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
Athlete number 2 at the Deadlift World Championships is Evan Singleton, a guy that pulled £1,000 last year. Now, he is over here. No travel issues for Evan. We trained with him last week. How do we think Evan is going to do?
I think Evan hits £1,000 again, personally. Yeah. I don't think he does 475. Evan's had some injuries between last year's competition and this year, but I think it will either go or it won't go because he got injured. Yeah. I don't think Evan will quit on that weight. Like, his body will either force him not to, and God, I hope not. I want to see Evan healthy and do the full competition.
He's, especially in these Giants live shows, he just brings an extra gear.
He does.
His performance at the Royal Albert Hall was not as good as last year's performance.
No.
But coming off an injury,
yeah,
and he had a terrible performance for him in the dumbbell, and he still clawed his way back onto the podium.
Yes.
I think Evan will be focused more on the overall competition than the deadlift.
But he still needs big points on the deadlift.
I was going to say, now this could really open the door for some of the other athletes like a Novikov or a Hicks and some of the other guys if Evan doesn't get the £1,000.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be between the 425 and £1,000 lift.
Pick one. Come on.
And I think just because he is a big time player, when it comes to that pressure, he brings the best out of him. I do think we'll see him pull £1,000 again.
Yeah.
So the most consistent performing strongman of the last few years, Oleksii Novikov, is our next athlete. He again pulled £1,000 last year, which was unbelievable.
Yeah, it really was.
Especially, I mean, I've said this a number of times, but you watch him in the warm-ups and you think, nah, he's not going to pull it.
I think no one was more surprised than Oleksii himself.
And I think if he wants to battle for the overall, he needs £1,000 again. Yeah. He's not going to be challenging for the win on the deadlift. No. There's some real seriously strong deadlifters turning up to this show, but based on all the top strongmen focusing on the whole show, he needs £1,000. Yeah. Otherwise, he's going to drop points, and I believe he will do it.
I think so too. He'll do £1,000 and then he'll stop. He won't attempt anything else.
Yeah. Next, the new sensation, Mitch Hooper. This man believes he's got 505 in him, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. We've had a lot of back and forth. I think there's a 10 to 20% chance that someone could do 505.
This one's awkward because you're his coach.
I know. Mitch truly believes he's capable of it.
Yeah.
Both of us agree he needs to work on his lockout power. He believes if he's got that power to get it over his knees, he can get the 505, which would be just incredible to see.
I want to see Mitch do it.
Believe me, I want to see it.
Yeah.
But I'm not the kind of guy that just blows smoke up people's backside just because I'm friends with them or because I coach them. I'm a realist and I love to be proven wrong. I think Mitch is going to pull 450 or £1,000 because I know you're going to say it.
Yeah.
He's not going to waste time going for 475.
And this is where the jumps make a huge difference, because I think Mitch could do 475, but he's not going to go for it if he wants to go for 505. Do you know what?
If I was allowed to pick his numbers, I think Mitch is capable of 480.
Okay.
That's where I think he is.
Yeah.
And I think that top extra 25 kilos is still a little bit beyond him. He's so new to this sport, I think give him a year or two, he will break the 500 barrier.
He's not a massive giant like Eddie and Thor were when they lifted over 500
Those two guys
kilos.
came in monstrously
They
big.
were huge. And I know Oh no, I'm going to open a can of worms by saying it.
Say it.
Well, there's I forgot his name, Mr. Deadlift, the Polish guy. It was sumo, which is why I get scared about mentioning it. But he did 502.5, and he is not huge. He's like, what, an under 120?
Do you know what? We'll discuss the sumo lifts, and it's not so much the sumo, but it's the bar that they're using, which is more of an issue with some of those lifts.
The kabuki bar thing. Yes.
There's so much flex in that bar,
Yes.
which that won't be used at the Deadlift World Championships.
No, and obviously at the Deadlift World Championships, yes, they're allowed suits and straps, but it has to be pulled conventional. And can a non-monster like Mitch pull over 500 kilos conventional?
Well,
is that not a bigger factor as I think it is? I think
it comes down to strength at the end of the day, and
course,
the overall ability of the guys is just getting better. So I think we'll see smaller guys pulling these type of numbers, but whether we see it this weekend, we'll see. Our next athlete is the returning champion from last year's Deadlift World Championships, Peiman Maheripour. This is a guy that maybe has a chance as well.
Yeah,
His 475 last year was very, very good. The 505 was a little bit too much. Maybe if he didn't go for that 475, he got the 505 off the floor.
Got it to his knees. And he's got it to his knees a couple of times before, but maybe a couple of times too many. And it's overtraining and lifting too heavy too often that's stopping him from being able to do it in competition.
It could be, that could be the case, that he's just gone through it so many times. I don't know if you guys train that are watching, but sometimes people just get a number stuck in their head and they keep trying it and keep failing it. Sometimes you've got to think, I think ideally for Makarov, maybe like focusing on a 390 would be...
390?
Sorry, 490.
I was going to say.
You know what I mean? Yeah, 390.
Yeah.
I'd be happy with that right now. Very happy, actually. But for him, maybe not so good. But yeah, I think 490. And it's why having the set numbers is difficult. But they want the 505, so they've got to go for it. And I think if he's got a chance, and he does have a chance, he's another one that's in that 20% area, I believe. He can't be going £1,000, 475. 505.
No.
He needs to just take the bullet, go for it, and take the risk.
If Even does the full competition, I mean, he's a deadlift specialist, isn't he? Last year he won the deadlift, came last in the overall competition. He needs to forget the competition. I mean, still do it by all means, but don't worry about how you perform there. If you want the 505,
go for it.
Yeah. Skip the 475, because points carrying into the competition will be less important for him because he's not looking to win it.
Well, he won the deadlift last year and still came last overall in the competition. I think the deadlift is what he should focus on, and I think you should come and just give it a shot.
455, 505.
That would be my goal. Next,
do you reckon he'll pull it though? You haven't actually said. What's your prediction for him?
My prediction is that he does every lift. I think he'll do 475. I think that'll be his biggest lift.
Okay. Did you give a prediction for Mitch? Oh, kind of.
I said I think Mitch will pull 450, £1,000.
£1,000,
because
you don't think the 505 is there right now.
Sorry, Mitch.
Word.
Prove me wrong.
Prove me wrong.
I'll be cheering the loudest. That's for sure.
I know.
Gabriel Pena, next athlete, another man that pulled £1,000. I feel like I'm saying this a lot, but
a
lot of these guys pulled £1,000. I personally think he might not get the £1,000 this year, just because he's got a new family, a new baby, and I know from personal experience how that can affect sleep
gains.
And just from what I've seen in his training, I don't think he's quite looking as strong as last year.
I think he's suffered injury since then.
I'm not sure. I haven't followed too closely, but from what I've seen in terms of gym lifts, just not convincing me that 1,000's there this year. Again, I hope to be proved wrong, but I will put Gabe down for 425.
Fair.
Next up, Mr. Rauno Heinla. He's coming to visit us.
He is coming to visit us. He's going to stay with us.
We're going to be cheering him on. Yes. And then we've got a few days spending with Rauno, which we're looking forward to. But he's got a serious job to do first.
He has.
The focus when you look at Rauno is, I think he should go £1,000 and get the Masters World Record. He's over 40. That would be a Masters World Record.
I don't think that's his plan. I think he'll skip 1,000. So Rauno, he's done, it was actually a bit heavier because it was actually 455 kilos, which I think is 1,003 pounds in 2019, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So he's done that in competition. That's a competition PB. He's done 470 in training before. So I think he'll do 425, then 475.
I don't. I know you've probably been talking to him, but I'll convince him on the day.
You're going to tell him not to?
I think Rauno doesn't worry about 505. I think 475 is top end where he's capable
He
of.
wants to go for the 505. He wants to do 475.
He wants to pull 475 and see how it feels. I think realistically, we all want to do that. Every single athlete. I remember having conversations with Terry or other guys, and we'll talk about what we want to do. You go into a competition with really good expectations, and then like realistic expectations, and then like worst case scenario.
Yeah.
And normally it's the realistic expectations where you're going to hit.
I think for all of them though, it will depend on how those first couple of lifts feel, won't it?
Well, I think for Rauno's not coming to this to break the world record. Rauno's coming for the full competition.
Yeah, he wants to do well in the full
I think he can do well in the full competition, and I think it's important that firstly he makes sure he gets £1,000, and if he can get the 475, which I believe he's capable of, that's going to give him big points.
What if, though, he skips the 400, opens on 425, and it absolutely flies up? Would you change your tone then? Would you be like, actually, you know what, Rauno? Maybe you should just go for 475?
Yeah, and we you can see how that looks on the day, but trust me, 50 kilos is a huge jump.
I know, yeah,
and,
at any level.
The risk is you get the 425 and you miss the the £1,000. And with the potential of so many athletes that are capable of getting that, because I think a lot of the guys going for the record will still make sure they get the £1,000 as like a good warm up for that attempt. You could drop a lot of points, whereas I don't see many of the top strongman competitors, let's say the ones that are really focusing on the whole competition, pulling 475.
So what do you predict for Rauno then?
I think Rauno will pull 475 as long as his body holds out. He has that slight issue that maybe myself,
a bit injury prone.
Jerry Pritchett kind of have. If he can come in shape, and he's looking good, if he doesn't get injured, I believe he's capable of 475. You?
Yeah, agree.
Next up, we have Gav Bilton, and I'm really excited to see Gav in his hometown. He gets to compete, or pretty much close to his hometown.
It's like 10 minutes away.
First major competition we've had in Wales. I think the crowd is going to be electric for Gav.
Yeah.
And he's been looking really solid this year. I saw his recent training videos, pulled 420 really well. His PB in competition and in the gym is 425.
Which is the Welsh record.
Yeah, performed last year.
Yeah.
I would love to see Gav get £1,000.
That's where it's a bit of a shame that it's not like a 435 instead of 425, because that's what we were told, weren't we? Initially,
originally,
yeah.
I mean, it's a big jump.
It is a big jump.
And even though you can make 420 look good, it doesn't necessarily mean £1,000 is going to go.
There have been some incredible deadlifters over the years, and you're one of them that didn't do £1,000 in competition.
All right, thanks for reminding me.
Well, no, but what I mean is, it's huge. We're talking about it like it's a normal thing. But
if you look at my best, I pulled 435, and if you watched that 435, you would say he had £1,000 in him.
Yeah.
And I tore my lat going for my next. These weights are serious, dangerous weights as well. I think sometimes we forget that when we're just sat back watching. Again, if it was down to me, I'd love to see him go for like 435 to get that Welsh record and personal best. I'm going to will him on, and I think Gav might just get that £1,000.
I think there's a 50-50 chance.
Do you know what? Yeah, I agree with you. Like, it's a big jump, but maybe, just maybe with that crowd, he can dig deep and pull it out.
Yeah.
This is my fan coming out now. If the realist in me thinks 425, if I'm honest.
Okay, interesting.
So I will go for that because I am with everyone else. I'm just going, I'd love Mitch to pull 505.
Yeah.
Maybe if we were in Canada, it would be different. But Gav's going to have that support. He's going to be fired up. There's a slim chance he can do it. But I think realistically, 425, personally, I think he's capable of more than that, but somewhere in between.
Okay, fair. I'm going to, throw caution to the wind, and I'm going to say but £1,000, isn't it? What is it? 453.5 or something silly. £1,000 for Gav. Calling it now.
I hope so. Next up, another athlete we really are excited to see. I want to see him competing ASKO KARU.
So is ASKO someone who will be doing the full show? Or is he a guest
He's down to do the full show, so we'll see. I mean, we just don't know with ASKO. There's been so little posted.
Nothing.
Since last year, unfortunately, got injured just before the competition, so couldn't come. I hope he's in good shape. I hope we get to see him compete. He looks like a cool guy. We've spoken to him a couple of times online, and looking forward to meeting him.
How do you predict, though, what he
You
might
can't
do
predict-
when you haven't seen his training?
There's a couple of guys in there, it's just so hard to predict.
Yeah.
And until I'm proven wrong, you know, you kind of have to go on the air of caution. There's no point in kind of going over the hype until someone proves me otherwise.
No.
And his best competition lift is a low 400s.
Yeah.
I think we will see more than that.
£1,000 maybe.
Yeah, I think £1,000. I'd love him to come here and pull 505 and just shut us all up.
Yeah. Yeah, can you imagine what a sensation that would be?
Yeah. Until I see it in front of me, it's so hard for me to kind of
Picture it happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But ASKO, get yourself over here. Make sure there's no excuses and come and show us what you can do in competition.
Excuses. No injuries, sorry.
So another guy that's hard to predict this year is Pavlo Nakonechnyy. Obviously pulled £1,000 last year, took the risk, went for the jump for 505. It didn't pay off. He apparently had lost a fair bit of weight leading up to that competition, wasn't feeling his best. He's been extremely quiet. Now, does that mean he's in good shape or not? I've spoken to a few people that know him a bit better than me, one being Luke Richardson, who said when, you know, they were competing in powerlifting, when Pavlo was really in shape, he was posting. Now, that doesn't mean that's the case.
No, because
right
his
now.
personal situation would have
very,
changed
very
a
different.
lot,
So maybe he is just training hard. Maybe he's kind of quiet.
Turned into like a machine in hiding, bunkered down, and he's going to come and like maybe Robocop.
I think after what Pavlo did last year, he comes with the same philosophy as I'm going to go for 505.
Yeah, because if he comes in healthy, having not dropped the weight, in his head, it was there. It didn't go because of those reasons. So yeah, maybe you'll go for the exact same weight jumps.
I think for that reason, I'm going to say £1,000.
Okay, yeah.
I believe he's capable of more than that.
Yeah.
But the jumps again, I think I'd love to see the guys.
Skip
I would love a deadlift champions where the guys can pick what they want, and it just became about who wants to win rather than just the record.
Yeah, I
would find that quite entertaining.
That would be very entertaining.
But,
like the rising bar that they did at the Arnold's women's with the Hammer Time deadlift.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant.
Put 10, 20 kilos on each time. Anyone could jump in and lift it. Yeah,
something like that would be good. Then we move on to Graham Hicks. Now Hicksy is looking ridiculously
really strong and confident and positive.
Yeah, happy Hicksy.
For people who know Hicksy personally, they'll know this is strange because he's not a miserable git most of the time, but he just has such bad luck leading into a lot of competitions.
He has had a lot of bad luck, and
isn't it?
He's a more mellow, quiet person.
Very
he's not
much
sort of an in your face.
He's not a hype person.
No, not at all. But Hicksy, when you know Hicksy and you know about Strongman, you see Hicksy as one of the strongest men on the planet.
Absolutely.
Now, one thing's for sure, he's going to come and blow away his competition best.
Which is like 400 kilos, isn't it?
he is... I believe Hicksy is going to pull 475. I think he should focus on the whole show.
He will.
I don't think he should worry about the 505. I think Hicksy is around the 480 mark as well. He's another guy I think that's around that. So I think 475 is more than capable.
Yeah.
Him and Rauno both have very strong lockouts as well.
Yeah, I think those will be the easiest to judge.
Yeah.
Because they won't sit there with it like that.
Yeah.
Neither
Their
of them.
knees
If
will
they
be
get
locked
to a
out,
certain
shoulders
point,
pulled back.
they'll lock it out. If they can get it to the knees, that's
going to be the issue. But I think
out.
from what I've seen with Hicks, he pulled 440 for a double.
Yeah.
That's very strong. Last week in that deload session, he just looked phenomenal.
43 kilo forward hold.
Well, that's not going to help on a deadlift. But
No,
he just
I
looks...
know, but it just goes to show how strong he is. He's just...
And I think, when we talk about the full competition, he's got a great chance.
Great events, yeah. He's not just strong, he is a great strong man, and these are good events for him.
So a last-minute replacement for this competition was Paro Dwyer. Now, Paro is someone I think will be a lot more prevalent in the whole competition.
Yeah.
I personally think Paro will pull the opener, which is 400.
Okay.
I think 425, possibly.
That would be a big competition PB for Par because I think it's been a while since he's done max deadlift, and I think his competition PB is like 360, 380.
It's around there. He's definitely going to get a comp PB.
Yeah.
He'll, as long as all's been well, he'll pull 400. He might be able to pull 425.
I mean, he's at a disadvantage, as in
Very
he's
short.
a late call-up. It's short notice to go for such a huge max lift, isn't it? So
I think Par focuses on the whole show. He's a good athlete, some good events in the full competition. I think the deadlift, if he can get 425, he'll be over the moon.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a huge comp PB, and he should be.
And finally, this is our only athlete that I believe is just focusing on the deadlift only. Right. Chris van der Linde from South Africa, another 1,000-pound puller. Pulled 1,000 pounds without a suit as well.
Yeah.
Which is worth mentioning because, I mean, I think ASKO as well pulls without a suit, but most of these guys will be in equipment. That is a huge lift. And Chris wanting to show that the Southern Hemisphere needs to be represented in these competitions.
You know, I absolutely love the way Chris harassed his way into this competition. And that's what people should do. If you can prove it, you can back it up.
If you're a 1,000-pound puller.
Oh, yeah. Not if you're a 400-kilo puller, because I know they get harassed by 400-kilo pullers.
And there's nothing wrong with 400-kilo pull.
It's amazing.
But there's a lot of guys that can pull 400 now.
Yes.
1,000 pounds is still elite level.
Yeah, but being able to do the opener doesn't mean you should be here. But being able to do 1,000 £1,000, you absolutely should. Conventional, strongman.
I think Chris is another athlete that pulls 1,000 pounds. I don't, from the way I've watched his pulls, don't think he's quite got the power to go up to that 475 just yet.
I think he'll attempt it though, because
absolutely. He's here to. I think he'll attempt every lift.
Yeah.
I think he's here for the deadlift. Yeah. He wants to be. I think it would be, I think he's the record holder from South Africa, isn't he?
From the whole Southern Hemisphere, he has the biggest deadlift.
So he'll want to make sure he gets that on a big stage and then possibly pull even more. But for me, Chris pulls 1,000 pounds. And how many people have we said could pull 1,000 pounds?
Quite a few. I think there's 2, maybe 3 that we think might not. So that would be 10 guys pulling 1,000 pounds if our predictions were correct.
I would be more excited to see 10 guys pull 1,000 pounds than one guy pull 505.
I think I would too.
It shows how incredibly high the overall standard is, because there's always been 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 really good guys. But these days in strongman, not just deadlifting, but in strongman in general, we have so many good guys. And for me, that makes every competition exciting because there's no guarantees with anything.
No.
One small slip, Novikov might not pull 1,000 pounds. Suddenly, he's going to be dropping a lot of points.
Yeah.
Evan could not get 1,000 pounds. Suddenly, he's dropping a lot of points. And it's just one thing to go wrong. And with these jumps, there's a high chance that happens.
Yeah, and like say Graham gets the 475, how much better of a position is he in than going into the main competition?
So we'll talk about the main competition in another video, but there you have it, guys. That is our predictions for the deadlift. Every single athlete, and we've committed to a number.
We have, yeah.
We need to check this back afterwards and see how close we are.
Yeah.
Let us know below who you think is going to win, what you think everyone's going to pull. See if you can beat Auntie Liz and myself, and we'll come back to you next week and see how close we all were. Take it easy, guys.